Hello and welcome to Desktop Deployment. My name's Dave, and today we'll be looking at commission painting and the approach I took to complete my first ever commission. Recently I was asked whether I do commission painting, and up until then I never had, but was interested, so I thought maybe this little journey would be something that other hobbyists might be interested in too. Throughout this video I will cover the steps I took and the tips and guidance I received, and also my thoughts on what I might do differently in the future. So let's get into it. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was contacted out of the blue not long after the Malifaux video was released. I'll put a link along the top somewhere here for those who haven't seen it, and asked whether I do commission painting. I suspected that this would turn into a "would you consider painting X?" as it would be a bit of a random question otherwise. I wanted to make sure that I was honest and open from the beginning if this did turn into an opportunity. So I replied saying that I'd never done commission painting, but it is something that I'd been interested in. How come? They replied explaining that they had a small group of about 9 minis from the game Zombicide that they were looking to get painted. They explained that they could have painted them themselves and had already painted the zombies from the game, but wanted the player characters done to a little higher standard than the zombies. A friend had previously done the other characters for them for the game, but since has moved away, so they were looking around for somebody to get maybe a commission done for the rest of them. It's that point that they saw the Malifaux video and explained that the Malifaux models that I'd painted were a similar size, and thought that my painting was pretty close match to what he already had. I was interested, so I asked if he could send me a pic of the models that he wanted painted. Whilst he was sending those pictures, I thought it'd be a good idea to put together a bit of a checklist of sorts, so that I'm not going to this completely clueless. For preparation, I watched a few videos on YouTube and read a few online articles, and most importantly, I had a chat with my mate who's already doing commission painting part-time. And here are a few of the pearls of wisdom I managed to find. Number 1. Do you want to do the project? Now this might sound a bit of an obvious one, but it is a very important question to ask yourself when you're doing a commission. It's one thing picking up a box of minis to paint up because you think they look cool, and if you get into it and you're not enjoying it that much, you can always put it to one side. Obviously with a commission you can't do that. If you've agreed to do something, you need to fulfill that promise. For this point, I'd already actually thought about this previously. If someone approached me saying, "Can you paint 60 poxwalkers?" I'd most likely have turned that down, because I know this is a project I probably wouldn't enjoy and would get bored of quite quickly. So unless they were offering a lot of money to do it, or if commission painting was my full-time job, then I probably wouldn't take an offer like that. Number 2, get specifics. This was probably the most important one on the list. You really can't get too much information. The more info you have on the project, the more likely you are to manage and meet your client's expectations. You'll want to find out exactly what they're expecting from you. Will they be providing the models, or will you need to purchase them beforehand? If they are providing the models, are they already assembled? If you're going to need to build the models, are they expecting anything extra like fancy bases? Is there a specific colour scheme that you need to follow? Remember, the commission could be for models to fit into an existing army or gang. Ask for pics of models that they want painted, or links to pics of models that they want painted, and if they are to match an existing scheme, pics of those too. Is there a specific date that they need to complete the project by? Number 3, and this leads on from the last point, can you do the commission? You can't really answer this question until you have the information from the last point, but once you have, you can more accurately see if what's being requested is something that you're able to achieve. Firstly, you'll be able to see if the level of quality that they're looking for is something that you're able to achieve and something that you're capable of. And secondly, you'll be able to see whether you'll be able to complete the project by the deadline that they've given. I'd say if you can't answer yes to both of those points, then make it very clear to the client straight away. Sometimes you may be able to work out a compromise. Number 4, get the right price. Now this one can be tricky, especially if you're like me and you worry whether your work is actually worth what you want to ask for it. With this point, I'd say it's best to be completely open and honest with the client with what you're charging and why you're charging it, and if possible, provide a breakdown of what you're charging. That way the client can see the reasons for your pricing for the project and you'll see that you're not trying to rip them off. Remember to take into account anything that you're going to purchase specifically for the project, whether that's the miniatures themselves or any special materials that you might need. I'd say one tip I'd give to anyone thinking about doing commission painting is get a good idea of how long it takes you to paint at certain levels, and keep analysing this. Keep a record of how long the commission takes you. That way, when you come to pricing a project, you can have a better idea of how long it will take. Whilst I'm sure most people wouldn't try and overcharge for their time, I think it's important that you make sure that you don't undersell yourself and give your time a fair price. Make sure you're aware of the hourly rate of the national minimum wage and make sure you keep above that amount. This is your spare time after all. I'd say if you're like me and you have no experience with commission painting and haven't won any awards for your painting, then try not to go too much higher than the minimum wage, as you don't want to price yourself out. Okay, so that's enough wisdom for the moment. We'll come back to that in a bit. So, when I got the pictures for the models from the client, I went on about getting as much information as possible. The client was extremely helpful and provided pictures of the models that they had already painted, and also some of the profile cards from the game which had colour pictures of the characters. These are a brilliant point of reference. So with everything agreed, I picked up the models and got to work. And here's where we get to point number 5. Keep your client up to date. Throughout the project, I kept sending pictures of the progress I was making. This can help for a couple of reasons. First, it shows that you're working on the commission and that they aren't left wondering whether it's getting done. Also, they can see how the models are progressing, and if there's anything that doesn't look quite right to them or it's not quite how they imagined, then tweaks can be made before you've gone too far. Once I'd finished the project, I sent pics of the models to the client to make sure they were happy with them, and once I had the thumbs up, I gave the minis a matte varnish to help protect the work I'd just finished. And here we have the finished commission. So I've finished the commission, the client has the finished product, and I've been paid. So, time to review the project. I had a lot of fun painting these models. I think that the fact that it was a group of characters and that each model was different helped keep this project interesting. So, time for the big question. Would I do a painting commission again? Yes, I definitely would. As I mentioned earlier, I'd still only do it if it was right for me, but I enjoyed the process and it was nice to have the sense of accomplishment that comes from someone paying me for my work. If I were to do another commission, I'd need to make sure I fully understood what was involved in completing that project. As for example with this project, I had based the time I thought it would take me on a previous project, and whilst the quality of the project was similar, I hadn't accounted for the fact that the models were all individual and not uniform, which led to me taking almost double the amount of time that I thought it would take me to complete. Just to clarify, this isn't something I'm upset or annoyed at, as it's all part of the learning curve, and something that I can account for going forward. And at the end of the day, I really enjoyed painting the models. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any tips or advice around commission painting that I didn't cover that you think others might benefit from, please feel free to leave a comment below. Or if you have any other feedback on the video or suggestions for future content, please also leave that in the comment. I do read all of the comments that are left. One last thing before I finish, a bit of good news. As of the time of recording this video, I am pleased to announce that the channel has reached over 100 subscribers. Now I know this doesn't sound like a lot, and in the grand scheme of things it really isn't, but I appreciate the support. If you're not one of the 105 subscribers, how about helping me get a bit closer to breaking 200 subscribers by hitting that button below? Anyway, that's enough of the sales pitch from me. Stay safe and hope to see you again soon.